All right, so I said in earlier videos that I'm going to be doing videos that I want to do, not necessarily videos that I want to make sure they go get so many views or make money or whatever like that. I just want to make videos that I'm enjoying and discuss things that I'm enjoying. And the first idea that I got is to actually interview my friend and my fiance actually, who's also a speech pathologist. So we're gonna keep the theme of the channel, which is technology and AI and programming and all of that. But I want to explore more about how that's been involved in her job. So I guess start off by just introduce. It's her first time ever behind a camera. So introduce yourself, what you do, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, so I'm Monica, David's fiance, and I have been a speech pathologist for 3 years now. Like, this is my third year. And yeah, as a speech pathologist, mainly I work with kids, specifically kids with developmental delays, disorders, and autism is a big caseload of what I work with. But there are speech pathologists that work with adults after stroke in hospitals, so there's a wide range. But I specifically work with kids in a clinic setting, one-on-one therapy, group sessions, parent coaching. That's kind of what I do.
Amazing. And how long have you been doing that for?
Well, I've been a therapy assistant for 2 years, and then 2 full years of being a speech pathologist, and now this is my third. So the whole thing has been 4 years of practice and then like studying at uni as well.
Amazing. And what year did you start doing this? As a job?
As a job, 2021.
2020. Actually, I actually don't know these questions. Like, I'm not just asking for the sake of the video.
2022, 2023, and then now 2024 is my third year. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, before you joined speech pathology, did you think technology was going to be involved in any way?
It's not. I didn't think much of it enrolling into the degree, but obviously, as we got into the degree, like we learnt about technology that works specifically with speech pathologists. We work with alternative augmentative communication devices, which for kids that are non-verbal, they will be using technology as a means of communication, like it's ultimately their voice. I obviously learnt about that like midway through uni, so that's when I realized there's more involvement of technology, but I wouldn't say I was very, very aware of it before enrolling.
Yeah.
And I think also being in the degree at a time where COVID hit as well, I realized how more and more technology got involved into like when we were assessing kids, we would assess them online on Zoom and use the assessments that were physical and hard copies to like the online versions of them. So yeah, that was kind of like that world that we got exposed to during COVID.
Did that continue after COVID? Like as soon as COVID ended, did you straight away go back to...
Me, yes, because I'm a type of like hard copy type person. I need my books like in hard copy, but a lot of speech pathologists got the online versions, and it was a lot more easier to operate, a lot more easier to like for even like wear and tear. Like you didn't have to worry about the pages ripping or whatever. Like it was all just like in one device. But I personally don't like it, but that's just a personal preference.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of speech pathologists that use the soft copy version.
Yeah. I mean, so that was what you thought it was going to be like before you started working, and then as you started joining and COVID and stuff. Now, after COVID passed, and now that you've been doing this for a while, she's worked in 2 different places. What is your... Like, did the involvement of technology sort of exceed your expectations on how involved it will be? Whether in the therapy, in the meetings, in organization?
No, I think...
In actual treatment?
I think technology supports what we do. There's like even like apps that you can download for like speech sounds, and when you're working on sounds, it helps you like keep tallies. They've got all the cards, like the physical, like the visual cards, like prepared, and you just like download the app. You pay money for it, obviously, but it's easier. Writing reports, keeping documentation, that's all like technological. So I don't think that it definitely exceeded my expectations in terms of it being helpful. And yeah, like in my day-to-day life, I do use technology as a speech pathologist a lot. Like I'm on my laptop for most of the time, whether it's apps, whether it's progress notes, like documentation, report writing, meetings, Teams, like channel when with all the speech pathologists, like in like a group, and we like bounce off each other. Google Drives, like where we all upload stuff from previous jobs, so that we all like have a vast range of resources together. Printables like Twinkle, things like that. We use those platforms to like have download activities, and so just a lot.
How much software do you roughly use? Like how many apps on top of your head do you have used?
For like everything?
Yeah.
Oh, like I'd say 10 plus.
10 plus?
Yeah. Oh. Well, like email, our software that we use to manage our appointments, Teams, Twinkle, Teachers Pay Teachers, Boom Cards.
And these are involved with the treatment, with the organization, with the actual exercises?
Yeah, different things like therapy, resources, assessment. Oh, like Pearson we use for like the assessment part. Like there's just for different avenues and for different things. And each speech pathologist is different. So what their needs will be and where they work will require different things. But I access different things. And it's been working well, so...
Yeah, amazing. Do any of these apps use AI by any chance?
How would I be able to distinct? No.
Any of them advertise that they use AI?
No.
Have you used ChatGPT before?
Yeah.
For what?
So I've actually used ChatGPT to like think of complex goals for kids.
Yeah.
Like sometimes there's like kids that I'm like, I don't know. I know what I want. I just don't know how to word it as like a SMART goal. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's like a way we write our goals.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to remember what SMART stands for because I'm having a mind blank. But yeah, it's like measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound is like the way we write goals. So for example, David will use past tense in 8 out of 10 occasions in like structured activities. Like that's kind of like a goal that we'd use, and we say 8 out of 10 because by the time they reach 8 out of 10, for example, that's when we'd know that they've achieved that goal and they're like ready to move on to the next goal. So sometimes I get stuck and like I might use ChatGPT to be like, form a goal around this in a SMART way, and then it kind of like spits it out, and I might not take it for what it gives me. I might use it just like as a foundation and then like change it and be like, yeah, at least it's done like 60% of the job or 70% of the job for me.
60?
Yeah, like, you know. And then in my previous job, we had to make like parent coaching modules and things like that. And so we used ChatGPT to form like the skeleton of it, I guess. And then we used our expertise and clinical judgment to then like change that around to make it more like accurate.
Yeah, okay.
Because obviously it's not very accurate all the time.
So how long or how much time do you think it saved you using ChatGPT compared to before? For
that like specific component? Like obviously I'd sit and procrastinate if I'm like unable to do something and stuff. So it saved me hours.
Yeah, hours?
Like an hour or two in that specific thing that I needed to do, but I don't use it as regularly. But there was also something that I found interesting, but it's like the higher grade.
ChatGPT 4?
Yeah, ChatGPT 4.
I'm the one who pays for that.
He paid for it and gave it to me and kind of like unlocked a world for me. Because like I would, for example, like I would want to use a picture and questions with my kids, but then like I use like a Twinkle, which is the resource platform, but the pictures like you eventually run out. Like they've got like 6, 7, like say 15 pictures, but like when you're working with a kid for a year, like you're gonna finish all these pictures. So I'm like, I want more pictures, but I can't create my own pictures. And then David showed me that you can actually like use that higher like that ChatGPT 4 to make like your own pictures and just be like, make me a picture that's influenced by this and for a 5-year-old boy and make me 10 questions about it. And so that I was like, what? Like,
And it does that straight away?
Yeah, like obviously you had to play around with it and you'd see where it gives you like inaccurate stuff and then you're like, no, correct this. But even that whole process was like, there was nothing else that I could ever use to make my own picture with questions. So it was a good starting point. And it just opened up a new ideas.
Yeah.
Because I was limited by what was already created online, and then I realized I can do my own.
So just to summarize, overall, would you say the use of AI or the use of tools like ChatGPT made things easier or less?
I think
it made things easier for sure, but you just need to know what it's capable of. Like I didn't know what ChatGPT could do. Like I didn't even know it can make pictures for me. I didn't know it can write a goal. I'm like, I didn't realize it could do that. I think just knowing what it can do, knowing that it might not be 100% accurate, but that's where your expertise as a clinician comes in, and you can be like, no, like that part's not right or whatever. Like in my previous job, they used ChatGPT to write blogs, like blog posts, and sometimes it pulled out like information that was good, and sometimes it pulled out very like generic information that wasn't really
accurate.
Yeah, or like clinical heavy, like clinically heavy, like it was just kind of like things you could just find from a Google search. And I think like ChatGPT needs to be different to Google. Like it can't just give you that basic stuff. And so I found myself having to add to or take away some of the things that it was giving, but in essence it gave you like a good bone. Like it gave you the good bones to start somewhere. And I think it's always easier to start off with something rather than a blank page and then like formulate your own ideas. So I think it's definitely been helpful once I knew what it could do.
You actually mentioned something in the middle that I was going to ask you after, which is, do you think there's any danger of using ChatGPT or any bad outcomes that can happen when you're using ChatGPT in your career?
I think it could be bad if you think you can solely rely on it. You need to know that you can take that information and do something with it, read it, confirm it, and then do whatever you need to do with it. But if you were to just rely on it, I think that could lead to a very bad path. I think it could also be bad if like parents use that just for this and think that's going to be the way they're going to treat their kids rather than sending them to therapy or like actually seeking out professional help. But I think if all those things are controlled and there's awareness about them, then as clinicians, I think it could be a more beneficial than harmful.
Amazing. And you said at some point you were like, it's a bad thing if parents try to use it to treat their children. Have you thought on how AI can affect your career in terms of people can just use it instead of actually going to a specialist or like a therapist? Like, do you feel like that could replace you by any chance or replace you at any stage? Or any part of your job specifically?
I think it could replace like parts like that, for example, like resource making and things like that. People sit behind screens and make resources for speech therapy. Some speech therapists have now dedicated their career to just making resources and printing them and selling them, and that could be something slightly impacted. I think it wouldn't replace for the most part, but could make things more efficient, like report writing and things like that for sure. I think there could be an issue though if people don't understand that AI is not a professional, and that there is a reason why we go through a 4-year degree and then continuously learn things as we work. It's because like we're professionals, we have experience with certain things and certain caseloads that I don't think AI can fully capture. So I think there has to be.
Or the parents at least wouldn't know how to trigger that through AI.
And I think there needs to be guidance with therapy to make sure like you're going on the right track. Like you can bring up ideas that you searched up on ChatGPT and the clinician can confirm if that's something accurate for your child or like something you can use with your child, but it's not to replace the clinician, because I think that's where things can go wrong.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you feel what areas do you feel need more use of technology or more use of AI in your industry? Like, is there an area that you wish you can do through ChatGPT or a particular thing?
I think like report writing. Writing can
dive more into it.
Report writing can take up to 3 hours.
And it's just writing a report.
Maybe even 4 hours. That's with a template. So we'd already have a template with like background information, this, that, like the assessment results, and then you have to like manually fill that in, and then add your comments or whatever. So yeah, 3 hours of report writing for already a template that we have is a lot. I think that, like, don't get me wrong, there's still like a part of this report is personalized for the client, and it's important for the clinician to give their 2 cents into that without it being technologically formed. But there are things that I feel like it can make, instead of a 3 hour report writing time, it could be 1 hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I think that's still good. Like,
yeah, of course.
Because you also don't want to take away the human part of the report that you receive. You don't want it to look like it was generated by something that hasn't even met you. Like, the whole point of an assessment and going through this process, and it could be very confronting for parents. Like, you know, you want to make sure it's written in a way that's human and straight to the point, but not written in a way that could come as like offensive or, you know.
Well, I was actually going to ask, what do you think, like stepping away from the technical aspect of it, if AI can do anything, how do you think parents would react to their kids being treated by AI, for example, rather than a person? And how do you feel about it as well?
I actually think there will be a lot more resistance than you think, because even just like during COVID, when we had to do like sessions on Zoom, there was pushback from that, because there's a beauty of therapy in a space where you and the child are present with each other, and the parent sees things happen. I think a lot of that gets lost when it was online, and then on top of that, if it wasn't even a face like to the name, and it's just I don't know, like an AI person figure thing that's not even a real human. Like, I think there'd be pushback, and bearing in mind the populations that we work with, like kids on the spectrum, they need to establish that security, and we spend sessions just focusing on the connection between a therapist and a child. I don't think AI can ever achieve that.
Why is that?
Because they're not a human. Like, there's something
What would they miss? Like, what would go wrong?
The deeper level emotion, the emotions, the ability to really get down to their level and engage. Like, you can't replace your parent with an AI figure. Why? Because they offer you like specific things that like technology can't give you. Like, it's emotion, it's connection, it's I understand you and you can trust me, and therefore from that we can add therapy into that. But if you don't have that, you're going to get resistance from the child as well. You want to create a safe space, and technology is just not a human. They can't offer that. I'm big on that. So so I think technology in the other areas of speech pathology, but I don't think it will ever, and it should never replace the actual interaction of therapy and assessment, because
And you don't think it will?
It'll miss a lot. And you're going to be treating your kids as more like figures and textbook based stuff, rather than like a human with all with everything that makes them. What other careers do you feel like shouldn't be replaced by anything
or wouldn't?
Anything that involves human connection. Like, I just don't like. I think all allied health. Shouldn't.
I think so too.
Like physio, occupational therapy, speech pathology, psychology, counselling.
We're talking like 100% replaced, not involved.
Like
what you do.
Like counselling, like on Zoom or whatever, is fine, but you're still, you know, the person, you're talking to them, like, you know, that's different. But talking to like someone who doesn't exist and doesn't have the deeper emotion, the deeper level emotion, you know, like, I think that would be hard.
Like nursing, obviously, all those things that require like hands-on stuff.
Amazing. Well, you've got 2 minutes to say anything else that you want. You can use all of them.
Don't put me on the spot like that. I hope you guys have understood a bit more about speech pathologists and what they do, and that I don't think technology is ever like I think when technology is used in a good way, it can really like complement what you do. But I think the over reliance on technology and substitution of humans, I think that's where it becomes a problem. So even in speech pathology world.
Amazing. Thanks so much. Leave a comment for Monica because it's her first time to actually go on the channel, and I hope to see you in the next episode.